The Sealed Book of Mormon, chapter 33. And it came to pass that there arose a people from one of the sons of Joktan, who was a direct descendant of Seth, the son of Adam, through the lineage of Noah, and the name of this son was Ophir. Yea, this son was one of the 13 sons of Joktan, who were known throughout the world at that time as the most righteous sons of God that had ever lived upon the earth after the days of the great flood in the land of Cainan. And this same Joktan was the brother of Peleg, who was the father of Mahonjad, who was one of the loyal friends who had come to know Jared and his brother, from whose record I am compiling these words and making my abridgment. And it came to pass that because of the exhortation and words of the brother of Jared unto the sons of Joktan, they all followed him, except for Ophir, into the wilderness, before their language was corrupted by those who had invaded and conquered the great city of Babel. And now it hath been whispered to me by the Spirit that an error that is written upon the plates of brass shall be the cause of some contention and misunderstanding among the children of men, especially among those who believe that they are learned, having learned all that they know from their study of the histories of the children of men that they have among them. And I have explained unto you that these histories are many times incorrect and biased towards the truth, depending upon him who writeth this history. And many of them are incomplete and do not give a full account of the history of the people. And upon the plates of brass it is written that in the days of Peleg the earth was divided. Now this hath led many to believe that the great land masses of the continents of this earth, which were once one, were divided at this time. But this is not what was meant by the words that were written upon the plates of brass regarding the history of the Jews. For the land masses of the earth were one many years before Adam and Eve were placed in the Garden of Eden. For in the days of Peleg, and he lived 239 years, the brother of Jared began to preach unto the people who would listen to him concerning the great vision that he had received of the Lord. And it came to pass that in this day the sons of Joktan were known throughout the whole earth as exceedingly righteous men, and it was their popularity among the people that led Jared and his brother to them. And they became friends and were united in their desire to serve God and keep his commandments. And because of the wickedness and pride of the rest of the children of men, the sons of Joktan were desirous to follow Jared and his brother into the wilderness in search of the promised land that Jared had seen in his great vision, and to which he was commanded by the Lord to travel with his family and his friends. And when the sons of Joktan had departed from among the people, then it was voiced throughout the land that the earth had been divided, or that the Lord had caused a division between the wicked and the righteous, even the sons of Joktan, who followed the brother of Jared and the rest of the people. And he who wrote the history of the Jews did not mention Jared and his brother, because they were sorely disliked by the people for taking away such righteous men from among them. And as it is with most righteous men, the sons of Joktan did not like the accolades of the people, neither did they think of themselves as more righteous than any other. Therefore, in the history of the people of Jared and his brother, they wanted no glory for themselves, and made it a requirement that their names were not mentioned in the history of the people of the brother of Jared. Therefore the record referreth to them as the friends of Jared, and the friends of the brother of Jared and their families. And now I would that ye should also know the reason for which the brother of Jared is not known by his first given name, even that name which he received from his father when he entered into mortality. Behold, the brother of Jared saw all the days of the children of men, and he beheld how they began to worship individual men and make sacrifice and homage unto their names, And these things are an abomination to him, in that he desireth that all the glory be given to him who deserveth this glory, even to God our Father. And for this reason he hath commanded all those who have written a history concerning him, that they refrain from using his given name. And this commandment he hath given as a token of his reverence and humility before the Lord, and also that his name might not be worshipped, like the names of other prophets of God, who did not make similar restrictions in the use of their names. And I, Moroni, will not give the name of the brother of Jared in this record, but I know his name, and will do his will concerning it. And for these same reasons the sons of Joktan restricted the use of their names also. Nevertheless, I know by giving the names of the sons of Joktan in this record, it might clear up some of the confusion as to why the record of the Jews readeth the way it readeth, and perhaps a better understanding of the truth may come forth. For it came to pass that after the sons of Joktan had departed, his brother, whose name was Shemlem, changed his name to Peleg, in remembrance of the time when he saw the departure of his beloved son Mahonjad and his righteous nephews, indicating the division of the righteous from among the wicked. And Peleg did not follow the brother of Jared, but stayed in the land, that perhaps he might be the means whereby others of his children might be turned to God and keep his commandments. And this was also the desire of Joktan and his son Ophir. And it came to pass that the descendants of Ophir were the Latins, who settled in the area of the great Tiber River. And after many years, the descendants of Ophir became wicked, and because of their wickedness, the Lord suffered a powerful group of people from the north to enter in among them and conquer them. And these conquerors were the descendants of one of the other brothers of Jared, who did not believe in the words of his brother, and remained in the land in which they were born. And from this other brother of Jared came forth a great civilization that had hidden itself from the invasions of other great nations, and flourished hidden for many years. And it came to pass that they became a powerful people, and carried with them for a time all the words and commandments that Adam had caused to be written and given unto his children. And for this reason they had a written language among them, which over time had been corrupted by the influence of their customs and their cultures. Yet it was the language which was most like the pure language of the Adamic tongue. And from their language the Greeks and many other nations were able to develop their own form of language and writing, and these people would become known as the Etruscan people among the children of men. And after they had conquered the small Latin tribes that existed in that area of the land, they began to introduce their laws and their customs among them. And like all nations under the influence of Satan, the Etruscan people were subjected to the ruling of the few, who were the rich and powerful among them. And it came to pass that a revolt occurred, in which the man who had been elected king by the rich was overthrown, and the new nation of the Romans began to be established. And like all new governments that are supported by the majority of the people, and the poor among the Romans were known as the plebeians. The rich received the vote and the consent of the plebeians because of their promises of equality for all, and a fair representation for all, and a voice for all in their own government. Now this was the guise and subtlety of Satan, for he knew that if he could get the majority of the people to trust in their leaders, then he would only have to influence one man in order to influence many people. And to the one man who allowed himself to be influenced, even as a leader of the people, Satan would reward him with glory and riches, which are the things that he sought from the Father in the beginning. And the plebeians were promised many things, and because they did not understand the workings of Satan, for at that time there were no prophets of God among them to teach them the truth, to counter the deception of Satan, They were led wherever the rich and powerful would lead them. And it came to pass that the Roman Empire began to grow exceedingly, and their entire form of government was established and run by those who were influenced by Satan. And their politicians, as they were known among the people, were of the rich class. Therefore the poor did not receive the representation that they had been promised. And the rich among them were known as patricians, or the fathers of the state. And it were these who inspired the people to fight against the Etruscans and win their freedom. Now these patricians did not care for the plebeians and their plight. Yea, the only reason why these patricians cared about the plebeians was because the plebeians performed all the labour and paid the tax of their labours unto them. And if it so be that there were no plebeians, then the patricians would have to work for their own sustenance by the sweat of their own brow, which they were not accustomed to doing. And these rich became the leaders of the people and influenced the people according to their own selfish desires. For the government among them was set up and presented to all the people as a fair representation of all the people, and they set up their consuls and their senates, which groups maintained the order and established the laws for all the people. Nevertheless, only a patrician could become a consul or serve in the senate, and these allowed the plebeians to set up their own assemblies among them. But these politicians allowed that they might pretend to give unto the poor the representation that they had promised unto them. Yet, in order for the poor to have representation with power and authority, they were forced to choose one from among the rich class to represent them. And it came to pass that with this form of government, the rich became exceedingly rich, and the poor became even poorer, having a tax placed upon them that supported their government. And the poor were told that without a strong government, which comprised not only of the governing councils of politicians to establish the order of law among them, but also comprised of a strong military presence in the land, yea, without this strong government, invaders would come into the land and take away their lands and their families. And in this way the leaders of the people used fear to ensure that the people would support them in their laziness and also in their lust for riches and power. And in this promise the Roman government had many examples to show unto the people the strength of their military and the protection of their lands, for there were many invaders that came into the land. And it came to pass that a strong nation came into their lands and burned Rome to the ground, and this bred great fear into the hearts of the people. And they became disconcerted with their leaders for that which they had been promised, even that for which they had paid such a high tax to avoid. But before the people could rise up against their leaders and demand a reform for that which they had given of their hard labour, the leaders of the people made a contract with those who had invaded them, and this contract involved the payment of a tribute to them if they would withdraw out of their lands. And the rich paid this tribute out of the tax that they had placed upon the poor. But the poor did not know of the payment of this tribute, for the contract was made between their rich leaders and the rulers of the invading armies. And when the invaders had departed out of the land, the politicians convinced the people that because of their leadership, or in other words, because of their great skill in their politics, they had brought peace and safety again to the land. And because of their flatteries and their lies, the people once again began to believe in their leaders and support them. And it came to pass that there arose contention among the leaders of the early Roman people, and the land was divided by the powers that were in control at that time. But after a few years of this discord, the powerful Roman military took control of the whole land and unified the people under one rule. And the leaders became exceedingly wise in their positions of authority and in their dealings with the other rulers of the nations of the earth, that did not belong to the Roman Empire. But their wisdom was not given unto them by the Holy Spirit, but was given unto them by Satan, who had promised in the beginning to use the treasures of the earth to possess the hearts and souls of the children of men. And through the Roman Empire he began to see exceeding success in his desires. And it came to pass that a large part of the success of the Roman government came because of the training and dedication of the Roman military. Now, these soldiers were of the plebeian class and were easily manipulated and controlled by their leaders. And when the sons of the plebeians heard the words of the politicians, they began to become exceedingly prideful in their hearts because of these words. And they were convinced that the Roman nation was the greatest nation upon the earth, and that it must be protected at all costs. And when their politicians had a desire to conquer another people, and usually this desire was based upon what the other nation could provide for them to increase their power and their riches, then these politicians would devise some secret plan through their secret combinations to make the citizens of the nation believe that they must stand up to this other nation, or they would lose their freedoms and their rights, and also their pretended representation in the government. And the people were easily deceived by their leaders because the Spirit of God was not with them. And the soldiers and their families were convinced that their sons were fighting for the greatness of their nation, and that if they would die in battle, then they died for their nation, and thus in their death they would become a hero. And now again, this was the plan of Lucifer from the beginning. For if a man could be convinced that he was dying a hero for the cause of freedom, when in actuality he was dying to increase the land holdings and the riches of his leaders, then Satan could use this man to do anything that would further the realization of his plan. And the leaders were experts at rallying the citizens of their nation to war. And they would speak unto them of patriotism, which was loyalty to the patricians, who were the rich. And the people were deceived considerably, even so much that the Roman military soon became the most powerful military the world had yet to know at that time. But there began to be some among the poor who could see beyond the deceptions and intentions of the rich leaders. And as these spoke out, they were quickly destroyed by the workings of these secret combinations that were among them. And the soldiers would make solemn pacts according to the outline taught unto them in their training. And these pacts were created from the workings of these secret combinations. And these soldiers would carry out the orders given unto them by their leaders, even if the orders put their own life or the life of their family and friends in danger. And the soldier received his wages accordingly. And because of these wages, more devotion and dedication was given to the leaders who gave them the wage that they received. And because of the devotion and dedication of soldiers, the politicians became exceedingly powerful and used this power to crush anyone who spoke against them. And the leaders of the people became wise in their dealings with the people that they conquered, for they would allow the people to live according to their own traditions and customs, as long as they paid a tribute or a tax to the government that would protect them within their own borders. And these people who were conquered did pay the tax as was required of them, because they were afraid of the armies of the Romans who had conquered them. And in this manner most of the world became subjected to the Romans and their government. And it was because of this form of government that the children of Abraham, or the Jews, were able to once again enter into the land of Cainan and establish the church of God as it had been given unto them by their fathers. For it came to pass that the Romans destroyed all other great nations, even the Babylonians and the Assyrians, and all those who had held their power upon the earth. And now we can see that Satan doth not back up those who serve him in the time of their need, For if he can find another nation which is more powerful, even one that he can deceive and bind with his chains, even one that will serve his purposes more efficiently, then he will choose the strong one over the weak to accomplish his purposes. Now, having the Jews return again to Jerusalem was also part of the plan of Lucifer, for he knew that if he could keep the Jews isolated under the power of the Roman government, which he had established, then he could control the church and its leaders. And if the prophets of God were to once more come in among the people, then they would also be subjected to the authority of the Roman government, which he controlled. And thus is the plan of Lucifer to control the temporal and the spiritual governments of the children of men. And because Satan enticeth the children of men with the lusts of the flesh, then the only way that he can control them is by the flesh. And for this reason he hath set up the great armies and navies and means of force throughout the earth. For it is only by fear that the leaders of the people maintain their control over the children of men. And without the fear of the sword, they would have no power. And because of the sword, the leaders are able to control the people and subject them to laws that protect their riches and their glory, which riches and glory they receive from the people. But the people are also under the influence of Satan, even the very poor among them. For the poor envy their leaders and lust after the things that their leaders possess, even the things that these poor covet for themselves. And this envy of their leaders causeth them to give unto their leaders a respect and honour that they do not deserve. For all men who are not of God, yea, even all those who do not have the name of the Lamb in their foreheads, lust after honour and glory and the riches of the earth. And because they lust after these things, they give honour and respect unto their leaders, who have the things which they desire. And this honour and respect that the people give unto their leaders alloweth their leaders to control them and subject them under their laws, which are set up to benefit the rich. And it came to pass that there were very few among the Romans who lived the gospel of Christ and obeyed the commandments of the Father. And the Lord had withdrawn his spirit from among them in order to allow the plan of Lucifer to be given the chance that Lucifer desired. Nevertheless, the Lord knew that he could not allow Satan to give the children of men many of the powers and the understanding that would be given unto them in the latter days. And even without these things that Satan was forbidden to give unto them, the Roman Empire became exceedingly powerful and prosperous. But this prosperity was limited only to the upper classes of the people, and the gap between those who were rich and those who were poor grew exceedingly. And at the height of the power and glory of the Roman Empire, the Holy Ghost had ceased to communicate with the children of men. Nevertheless, it was still in the period of the times, as was spoken of by John and Daniel, in that the spirit and authority of God was not entirely taken from off the earth, for Lehi had departed out of Jerusalem before the rise of the Roman Empire, and he took with him the authority of God, and the spirit was also with my fathers, even as it is with me at this time. And the beginning of the period of the times began just before the time of Lehi, and it shall end shortly after my time. But before the Spirit of God is taken off the earth for the second time, another great prophet shall rise up after my time, and before the time of the two prophets of the latter days. And this great prophet that shall rise up after my time shall be the last and final prophet that the Lord shall send forth upon the earth until the latter days. And he is the last prophet of the period of the times, even the second period that the children of men shall be given the authority of God and the Spirit to inspire them. And after this period of the times shall end, there shall be great spiritual darkness upon the earth. And this prophet shall be called Mohammed, and from him shall a great nation rise upon the earth. And an account of this nation shall be given hereafter in this record. But now it is required by the Spirit of the Lord, and also by the commandment that the brother of Jared hath given in his record, and it is also my greatest joy and desire to abridge the vision of the brother of Jared, which he saw pertaining to the coming forth of the Son of God into mortality. And it is this great event that all the children of God have looked forward to since the beginning. And it is this event that shall mark the meridian of all time upon this earth, as well as the meridian of the times of which I have spoken. And with exceeding anticipation all of the holy prophets that have been, and all the holy prophets that shall be upon the earth, shall look forth to the day of the arrival of the Saviour of the world, even the Son of God, to come forth into mortality. And those in the spirit world shall witness all things pertaining to his life and his mission. And these things were shown unto the brother of Jared, of which he rejoiced exceedingly for the opportunity to see these things before they occurred, yet mourned even more exceedingly because of the way that the Son of God, even the perfect example of the Father in the flesh, shall be treated by the children of men.